Hi everybody, it's Monday and it's time for Monday Musings again, and today I'm so excited to share this with you, this home decor piece. This is my first time working with the new Decor chalk paints. This is Americana Decor chalky finish, and this one is looking for the color. Shoot. It may or may not be on there. Maybe I missed. Oh, it's on the top. I'm sorry. It's called Whisper. I got this one because it's kind of an off-white, and I wanted to just get one that I could experiment with. And I thought, you know, I can probably tint it. And then I also am working with the cream wax, just the clear cream wax for the finish. And I want, as you can see, this is not the same color. So I wanted to know if I could get a neutral color and then mix my own tints, mix my own colors in the chalky finish. And the answer to that is yes, I can, and I did. So let me just move this out of the way just for a second. I'm going to bring my palette over here. And what I did was I took Decor Traditions medium white. I took sapphire blue and cerulean blue. Okay, here's these colors, and I mixed it up. Let me see if I can find. Okay. This is the color I mixed, just a very, very toned light blue. Now the reason I used the colors I did is because medium white is a mixture that has white in it and also raw umber, and also it is, let me see, it's pigment yellow, pigment PY42 pigment, which happens to be yellow oxide, which is the same as yellow ochre. Okay, but I wanted the yellow in there to make it warmer, but I wanted the raw umber in there to make it aged, because raw umber is the earth pigment that you want to use when you want an aged look. And then I used sapphire blue to get my blue, and that has sapphire blue is a mix of phthalo blue and ultramarine blue and white. Okay, and then I put cerulean blue in there just so I could have a little bit deeper of a color, a little, you know, I like what these two blues look like mixed together. And this is what I came up with. And I'm going to mix a little bit of it for you right now. My medium white is almost empty, so I'm just going to poke it out like that, and I hope that when I pounce a little bit that my camera doesn't travel, doesn't fall down. So I put a lot of that out, okay? And you know, I'm not really, I'm just measuring by sight. So there's a very little bit of the cerulean blue, and there's also a very little bit of the sapphire blue. Whoop, I'm gonna have to take the lid off of that one too. But I put double or more of the sapphire than I did the cerulean. So if I was going to break this down into a formula, I'd say this is about 10 parts medium white and 1 part cerulean blue, 2 parts of sapphire blue. Okay, so now I'm going to get my palette knife and I'm going to mix these. So far this is all Traditions paint. This right now, what I'm doing is I'm mixing my tint color. And see, this is not bright, but it's still warm. It's light. It's about a value 7 right now. So this is my tinting color. Okay, now I'm going to shake your chalk finish paint. And I'm going to pour out an amount that is more than my tint. And then I'm going to start mixing it in there. And I'm looking for a value 8. So as you see, I didn't mix my entire tint in there. I'm starting out with only part of it. You can see that that's a much lighter value. And I think I got it first time. Looks like I've matched what I've already mixed earlier. But, well, you know, let's go just a little bit more of our tint color, because I think there's just a little bit of a difference there. Okay, I don't know how well you can see this match, but it is a pretty good match. Now also I want to tell you that this is not exactly completely blended in and mixed in. There we go. And that's okay. There's streaks of that tint color in there, and that's okay because that makes for a lot more interest. Now I'm just going to take my tint color over here and put it in my wet palettes where I have a wet paper towel, and I'm just going to put it right there so that if I have to mix some more later, then I don't have to go back and mix my tint. And then I'm going to close this up, and it's airtight, and that will keep for me. Okay, so this is a frame that I bought from Michael's. It was extremely cheap, and I bought it for a different project, but around Halloween, and then I just never got around to doing it. You know how that is, right? Here's the tag from it. But so now I decided to use it for this. So I'm going to pull my palette paper over here to the side, and I'm going to take, let's see, I'm using my Decor Traditions 1-inch flat. I'm going to wet my brush, because you want to start out with a wet brush. That helps distribute the paint more evenly within your brush. And I'm just going to blot it. These are shop towels. You can find them in Walmart. You can find them in auto stores, anywhere. They're lint free and they absorb, and I don't use anything else but that. Now I'm going to turn over to the other side here. And let's see, okay, it's situated here so you can see most things. Standing up today because it's a little easier when I'm working with a larger piece. The first thing I did though was I sealed my wood with Decor Traditions Multi-Surface Sealer. Now on the side of the chalky finish paint it doesn't say that you need to seal. In fact, it kind of gives the impression that you don't. But I tried it both ways, and I would prefer the sealer, because when you use a sealer, you can see how cheap this frame is. When you use a sealer, while I talk, I'm going to start painting this on. Then your paint is going to sit on top of your wood piece instead of soaking in. And the reason you want it to sit on top is because that gives it an even coat of paint, and it looks even. And if it soaks in at different rates, and you will have you'll have just a mottled, blotted looking, botched kind of look, a blotchy look. That's what I'm trying to think of. You have a blotchy look. I'm putting a thin coat on here. On the other side I did use 2 coats, and that is because I wanted to make sure that I had an opaque finish covering up any of this wood, because this is not a pretty wood grain. It's a cheap piece of balsa wood, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And that, that wouldn't be pretty, so, showing through. So I put 2 thin coats. You always want to go a thin coat. You don't want to pile the paint on. It always looks so much better if you put 2 thin coats on instead of 1 thick coat. Always, when you're painting or you're varnishing anything. Okay, see how quickly this is gliding on? That is because I've got sealer underneath. Now if I didn't have the sealer underneath, then it would be a lot slower process. And this has so many intricate loops and curls and stuff that it was a little difficult. It took a little time to brush that sealer on, just like it's taking a little bit of time to put this paint on. But it's worth it. You know, spend an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes and get that. You know, when you're painting this type of a surface also, you're always going to get the little drips and stuff down into the curlicues. And you know, if you want to take a whole lot more time, smaller brush, you could probably paint all down there on the inside. This is a laser cut piece, and so the edges are a dark brown, so you could take the time to take a little brush down in there and make it all painted, or you could take the time to make sure you don't have any drips, or you pull them all out like I'm doing a few of them. But for demonstration's sake right now, I'm not going to do all that. I might later on, before I hang this in my house, I will probably go back in and paint all of those little brown edges so that it's a consistent look. That's up to you. Okay, we're getting there, almost finished. I'm doing it a lot more quickly than I would if I was if I was here without the camera on. I would say this is about a 2 to 3 hour project when you're not trying to get it into 15 or 20 minutes on camera. And we're coming up to this last edge. Now, another surface that I've recently been using a lot is a mat board. You know, where your frame shops and your big box stores do framing, they cut the centers out of mats. Well, at Hobby Lobby, they bundle those up and sell them for about $7 for about 20 pieces of 11 by 14. So I bought some 12 by 12, some 11 by 14, some 5 by 7, and I've been using it a whole lot where I surface. So that's just as soon as we get this part painted, I'm going to set it off to dry. And I found that this just takes maybe 2-3 minutes to dry. It's really nice. And you're getting this nice, smooth, matte, chalky finish that is so popular in home decor. Okay, just finishing up the last bit. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside to dry. Trying to get some of my... Okay. So, now, we'll set this aside to dry, and I'm going to pull out the mat board. So here's the piece that went on the inside, right? So, let me turn this over. I'm going to turn this on the other side. I have already sealed it with my Traditions multi-surface sealer. So it is so easy to just come in here and paint. Okay? This time though, even though I just put some of my blue on, kind of trying to use up what I had, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, after I put this down, I'm going to go ahead now and pour out some of my just straight Whisper Color chalk paint on my palette without using my tint in it. So you see I've got that over here on my palette. And this side I'm going to paint the just the off-white color. I've already got some of that tint in there. Probably going to have to do 2 coats of it. Don't ask me why I did that to begin with. I think it's because I forgot I was going to do a different color. You know, every video has a mess up. I paint with Robin Weinrib, my partner in the Outlaw Women's Scrapbook Emporium shop, weekly, and she's always complaining that I paint too fast, and I probably do. Make sure I'm getting a couple of fingerprints over here. Don't really want to do that, so I need to be careful where I'm touching this. Okay, so I'm going to hit this with the heat gun quickly. And I'm going to go ahead and put one more coat on there, mostly because I put the wrong color on to begin with. On the other side, I only put one color of my tinted color, one coat of my tinted color, because on this matte board it just went on much nicer, much smoother, and I didn't need the second coat. And I wouldn't have for this color if I hadn't cleaned my tinted brush off first on it. Very easy paint to brush on. I'd say I've used about 1/3 of my jar so far today. Alright, one more time with the heat gun and we'll continue. So, really I would, if I wasn't doing this side for demo purposes, then I would put another coat on, because I can still see that green, that, you know, the tinted color underneath it. But for right now, since this is going to be the back of my project and it's going to hang against the wall, then I'm not going to go ahead and do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a stencil. Oops, there we go. And this one is by Decor Americana, and it is the French bakery. There's another really cool use for it right there. So what's nice about this is it comes with marks where you can line up your stencil with the edge of your board, edge of your piece, and you will know that you're centered and that you're straight. Okay, so I'll put that there, and then I'm using painter's tape. Well, let's just get a new piece, okay? You can reuse your painter's tape, but you should really try not to get it all tangled up if that's what you intend to do. So I'm putting that down here. Then it's important to have a good stencil brush. The one that I have, gosh, it doesn't even have anything on it. I got it from Patty Rawlinson at Creative Arts Living, Lowell Cornell stencils. So this is worn off. These two were a set. And I have another one that's a Royal stencil. So you want to have good stencil brushes. You use them dry. If you are using them different colors or have a little bit of time in between when your use, then you want to clean it out with a baby wipe. Get that extra paint out of there, but it doesn't wet your brush down. Okay. So now, what I want to do now, since I used the plain Whisper Color chalk finish paint here, now I'm going to use my tinted paint that I saved back here. And I'm just going to set this on my palette next to me. And I'm going to tap in. You don't want too much on your brush, and if you get more than you think you should have, if you get it too wet, just come here and tap it off on your palette, and then you're just going to tap. Now I hope that I'm not tapping so hard that my camera is going to move and fall down. If it does, I'll just pick it back up again. I'm also going, just as far as I can with this, because it's okay if it doesn't really, and then reload. It's okay if it doesn't cover that much the first time you go around. Your stencil is not going to move. You've got it taped down. And just like I said with the other part of my, with the frame, two thin coats are always better than one thick coat. So you get it covered in a thin coat. Give it about 30 seconds or so after you've done the whole thing, and then you're going to come back, reload your brush again. I'm just tapping it in. You come back and you stencil the second time, and you'll get the coverage that you're looking for, the coverage that you need. And there went the camera. Alright, here we are again. Try not to pounce so much. I'm so sorry if I'm making you seasick. Okay, so we've got, now I'm going to put that brush in the water because I'm finished with it. Now we're going to immediately pick straight up on that stencil. And I see I got some of it over here, so I'm going to take some clean water on my lint-free paper towel, and I'm just going to pull it off. No problems. Okay, now you immediately want to clean off your stencil. And I'm going to move this over here. I'm putting it on top of my laptop because that's warm and it's going to help it to dry. So let me grab my hand sanitizer. Put it over on a towel. And I'm going to squirt my hand sanitizer all over it. And then using the balls of my finger, the flat of my hand, I'm going to loosen that paint. You need to be very careful. Go slowly. Don't dig in. Don't have your hand vertical. Have your hand as horizontal as you can. And loosen that paint. Use as much sanitizer as you need. It's cheap. You do this immediately after using your stencil. Your stencils will stay very clean, and they will stay unharmed, and you won't bend them trying to get the paint back off. They'll stay nice looking. Okay. Now I'm going to take that into the sink and wash it, rinse it off. But the only other thing I wanted to show you is that I also used this stencil on my frame. And this one you especially want to be careful when you're cleaning because it has all the tiny little loops and stick outs and things where they can be bent, or they can be harmed or ripped off, so you want to be careful. So thanks for hanging